Hey, what's up guys? Working on a 2010 Buick Enclave. Going to show you how to replace the front and rear brake pads along with the rotors. You want to go ahead and pop your hood. So once you get your hood open, go ahead and locate your master cylinder right here. You can go ahead and pull your cap off if you want, because you want to take a look at your fluid level. And you can see on this one, it's quite a ways down there. You can see our max line is going to be right here. You just want to make sure that it's not exactly at the max line or above the max line before you get started. If it is, you may want to siphon out just a little bit, use a turkey baster or something, suck out some of the old fluid, because what's going to happen is once we start pushing in those pistons into the calipers, this fluid level that's way down here is going to start to rise, and it'll probably come up right to the max. So if yours is already here before you even start this job, you don't want it to be, because then once you start pushing those pistons in, it's going to push the fluid all the way up here, and it could leak out all over this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the front ones. So just take you a block. You can stick behind your rear wheel there. Next, crawl underneath the front of the vehicle. You got this large cross member here. I'm going to go ahead and jack up from here, and then we'll get some jack stands on each side. Next, grab yourself a jack stand. You can see I got the other side set up already, but if you notice, there's a little arrow here. So I'm going to place my jack stand right in here. Kind of on there like that. And we'll go ahead and lower it. Next, go ahead and grab a flathead screwdriver. Go ahead and pop off your center cap right here. Grab a 22 millimeter or a 7/8. Let's go ahead and zap off our lug nuts. So next we need to remove the caliper, and if you guys want to, you can always turn the key and turn your wheel all the way to the right. If you're doing the front passenger, it just makes it a little easier. So let me go ahead and do that. And as you can see, that gives us a little better access to the caliper bolts right here. Those are going to be a 13 millimeter. So go ahead and take those off. Next, we'll go ahead and pull our caliper off. And then I just like to use these caliper hooks. You can get these on Amazon super cheap. I'll put a link in the description. They come in handy just to hold this caliper since it's so heavy. And you can just hold it up like up here to your strut there, because you don't want this brake line to dangle with the weight of the caliper on it. So go ahead and slide that off, and you can just take this. You got a little hole up here in your strut. You can just kind of let it hang there like that. And then you can pull out your old pads. These will just slide out. You got these two tabs, just slide them outward. Just like that. Same with your inside one. There we go. And you can see this one is definitely needing replaced. Going to be almost metal to metal there. Next, grab a 21 millimeter, and we're going to remove these two bolts here holding our caliper bracket on. You can use a wrench, or impact works a lot easier. And as you saw, the bracket just kind of dropped down there. It went on there just like that. So now we need to remove the rotor. But you can see you got a Torx T30 screw holding that in. So go ahead and pull that out. And then you go ahead and pull your rotor off. This might be stuck on there. You just may need to tap on it a little bit to get it to break free. Next, we'll go ahead and push our pistons back into the caliper. And you can see how far out these ones were. Like I said earlier, that's why the brake fluid level is so low. So once we push these back in, it's going to push that fluid back up into the reservoir there. So what I like to use is just a large C-clamp such as that. Take your old brake pad and just kind of set this in here like that. Take your C-clamp, you can go about in the middle there. Go ahead and start tightening this up. About right there like that. And then you go ahead and keep tightening this. And then as we're tightening this, it's going to push those pistons back in. Just go ahead and start tightening those. You can see them going into the caliper there. So keep going until it stops. About right there like that. Go ahead and back off your C-clamp. Remove your old pad. And there you go. Back into the piston, or the caliper there. So next I'm going to clean up around the hub here. Just a little bit of rust you can see on there. Luckily this rotor came off easy, but just take a wire brush and kind of clean up some of this loose rust along here. And then I like to just take a little anti-seize here, and you can just kind of go right along the hub here, kind of where that rotor is going to sit. So now let's take a look at our new pads and rotors for the front. So I just went with the Napa silent guard for the pads. There's the part number right there. I'll put a link in the description for these. But you can see comes with our 4 pads for the front, and then also our new clips as well. And then for the rotors, same thing. I just went with some Napa ones. There's the part number for the fronts. So I got 2 of those. Take a look at them. That's what that looks like. So let me go ahead and get this unwrapped, and we'll get it onto the vehicle. And you can go ahead and just put this on the hub backwards, because if you notice, there's a lot of grease and oil on this rotor for shipping, so it doesn't rust. So grab you some brake clean, do something like this, spray it down. Then you can take yourself a rag, just kind of wipe this side down. You can see how much was on there, because you don't want that oil getting on your new pads. So then what you can do is we'll go ahead and flip this around, but we need to make sure we line up our hole for our screw. So flip that around, and then you can grab your screw. Kind of get that into place. Go ahead and tighten that down. And then we'll do the same thing. You can see how much is on this side. There's a lot more oil. So now let's go ahead and prep our caliper bracket here. So you can pop off your metal clips here just with a flathead screwdriver. Pop those guys off. Just like that. And then you can pull out your slider pins. Pull those out like that, and then just take note. You can see this one has a little rubber piece on it, so we'll put that one back into the same spot there. And then what I'm going to do now, just take a wire brush. I'm going to clean up where those metal clips were. So just kind of scrub those. Just get some of that off of there. Flip it around, do the same on the other side. Kind of like that. And then if you want, you can remove these boots. They'll just pop right out of there. And then you can try to clean up some of that grease in there. If you got something you can stick down in there. Let me see what I got real quick. So you can just take your brush, kind of something like this. And go ahead and clean inside there. Just try to get some of that old grease out of there. May not get much. Just kind of like that. Then you can wipe off these boots. Actually not too bad. Then what you want to do is take one of your caliper slide pins, go ahead and clean that off. Get all that old grease off of there. So it should look something kind of like that. And then you can take this Permatex Ultra brake parts lubricant. You can get this off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. But go ahead and open that up and just coat your slider pin in that new grease. Kind of like that. Grab your boot. Go ahead and slide that on. And then we can go ahead and insert this back in. Push it all the way in. And I'm going to make sure this boot goes all the way in there first. So actually, let me pull this off. See if I can get it in here first. There we go. So like that. Then you can stick this in. Make sure that goes all the way on there. Just like that. And then you want to just move this back and forth. Make sure it's got enough lubricant on it. Then we'll go ahead and do the same to this one. Just like that. Go ahead and grab your new little brackets here. And before we put those on, let's just go ahead and put a little bit of this brake lubricant down on here where those are going to sit. Same with this side. Don't need too much, just a little bit of that. Then you go ahead and get these snapped on here. And if you look at the old one, it was on there like that. So try to find one of your new ones that matches up exactly the same. Then we can go ahead and stick this in here. You can see it kind of fits on top of that there. Just like that. And watch yourself because these are going to be sharp. I just cut myself. Let me grab a paper towel. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Like I said, I sliced my finger open on one of those, so be careful as you're doing this. So then grab your next one. Again, you can see how those kind of line up where that's going to go. Go ahead and get that one in place. Put that on there like that. So now let's go ahead and put our bracket back on. And then GM recommends that you use some red Loctite on these caliper bracket bolts. So I'll put a link in the description for some of this. Just put a little bit on there, you don't need much. Same with the other one here. And it'll get kind of rubbed on there in the threads once you start tightening it down. Grab your bracket. Let's go ahead and stick that on there. Get these started. Maybe. Not sure why. There we go. Go ahead and get those snug, and then we'll go ahead and torque them as well. Then go ahead and grab your torque wrench, and you're going to torque those to 129 foot-pounds. Now go ahead and take your front brake pad, your new one here, and I like to just put a little bit of grease on the ends here, just kind of where it's gonna slide a little bit. Don't need much. Then we'll go ahead and stick this in. So you notice there's these little tabs right here. So what you want to do, just go ahead and stick this in. You're going to push on that tab on each one of these, and then this lower one kind of locks it into place. So go ahead and get it set down in there. Same with this one. And it's kind of tricky to get in here. Once you get it pushed in, push it all the way in, and you can see how it kind of pushes the pad away from the rotor. That's the way you want it to be. And then what I like to do, just take a little bit of this grease here, put it on the outside of the pad just to keep the noise down, even though this does have the silent guard protection on it. Kind of like that. Let's do the back side. So same thing on the back side, but this time you'll have one with a this little clip here. This is to let you know that your brakes are getting down, because this will start wearing on the rotor once these get all the way worn down. So let me go ahead and put some grease on this one. And let's go ahead and set that one in there. Same way. It's just kind of hard to get it started in here. Just kind of like that. And then I'll do the same thing. Some grease on this back side as well. Just like that. So now we go ahead and take the caliper. Make sure you got your caliper bolts ready. Go ahead and take this off. And then we should be able to just slide this over the new pads. And then you may have to press in on these to get them in there. And then you may just have to turn these as well. So you can see, just turn them like that. So your caliper will sit on there just like that. Get these two started. Go ahead and get these snug. So grab your torque wrench, and those are going to be torqued to 30 foot-pounds. Okay guys, so that's all there is to the front. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side before I get this tire on, and then I can let my camera charge as well. I'm not going to record that side because it's going to be exactly the same. Once I get that side done, we'll go ahead and move on to the rears. Okay guys, so as you can see, got the driver's side all done as well. Same exact procedure. So let me go ahead and straighten this wheel out, and then we'll go ahead and get our wheels and tires back on. Okay, so I got my other side all back on. Go ahead and do this side here. Go ahead and grab your jack, and then let's go ahead and jack it up, and then we'll go ahead and lower it. Then grab your torque wrench. You're going to torque your lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds. Then you get your center cap back on. We'll go ahead and do the other side, and then we'll go on to the back. Okay guys, so for the rear here, I went ahead and did the driver's side already, just because I need to let my camera charge already. But you want to do one wheel at a time, and what I found best is just jacking up right underneath the arrow here on the pinch weld, and then we can get our jack stand just a little bit over to the right of that. So let's go ahead and do that. And then as you do this, you will see the plastic kind of bow, but it's fine, totally fine doing that. Just go enough to get that tire off the ground. About like that. Grab your jack stand, and we're gonna go right on the pinch weld right here. It's about right there like that. Go ahead and slowly lower it. Get your jack out of here. Go ahead and take off your center cap along with your wheel and tire again. And then just like the fronts, go ahead and remove your caliper slide pin bolts. Those are going to be a 14 millimeter. And if it gets to the point where those want to turn on you, go ahead and grab a 17 millimeter wrench. Let me go grab one. And then as you're loosening this, just hold that with a 17 millimeter wrench and you should be able to break it free. Just like that. Go ahead and slide off your caliper. And this one's going to be a lot lighter than the fronts. You can just go ahead and sit this kind of on top like that. Next, grab a 21 millimeter wrench. Let's go ahead and remove these two caliper bracket bolts. You can get a socket in here. It's kind of hard because of the coil spring, but so I'm just using a wrench. Try to break these free. These will be on there pretty tight because of that red Loctite. So get it kind of broken free. Just like that. And then if you got a ratcheting wrench, it makes it a lot easier. Go ahead and slide that off. And then you can go ahead and just pop out one of your pads here. Now we can go ahead and compress that piston back into the caliper. And if you notice, these rear ones aren't as bad as the front, but the customer said just go ahead and replace all front and rear. So go ahead and stick that on there like that. Again, you can use your C-clamp, or you can get one of these tools, which is really easy as well. I'll put a link in the description for it. I think it's only like $8 on Amazon. But what you do is you stick this in here. You may have to loosen it up some here first. Once you get it loose, you want to stick this flat piece into the caliper like that. And what you do is you just start turning this, and you'll see that piston go into the caliper. And again, you just go till it stops. Right there. Back it off. Pull that out. Pull your old pad out. And there we go. Then we'll go ahead and remove the old rotor. So again, that's going to be a T30 screw right there. Go ahead and slide this off. And if you're having trouble sliding that off, probably means that your parking shoes are too tight against the rotor. So I'll show you here in a minute, but we'll have to remove this plug and then you can adjust the parking screws or shoes. So pull that off if you can. And if you notice right here, let me move my camera so you guys can see. Okay guys, so if you can't get that rotor out, this is going to be the little dial to bring your parking shoes in or out. And what you would do is you take a screwdriver. I'll throw my rotor back on here just to show you guys. But you're going to stick this screwdriver through that hole, and then you're going to turn this either down or up. And you're going to go down to bring the shoes in, or you can go up to bring the shoes out towards the rotor. So if you can't get your rotor off, you're going to want to go downward with this. And then that'll start to bring these parking shoes inward, allowing the rotor to release. So I'll just kind of show you. So if it was back on there like it was, you got this little rubber plug here which you'll pop out, your screwdriver, maybe. So you pop that plug out, and then what you'll do is you'll turn this. So go ahead and turn this until you would see that little dial in there. So once you see that little dial, stick your screwdriver in there, and then you'll just start turning this downward. And then that should release to pull this off. And then kind of like on the fronts, I'm just gonna clean off any of this rust. Take some anti-seize. Again, we'll just put some around here. So before we put our new rotor on, since the rotor did come off easy, I'm gonna go ahead and bring these shoes out just a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 clicks upward. Just to set those parking shoes a little tighter. So like I said, you can go ahead and click this up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think I'll go a little more. 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's try 10 clicks and we'll see where we're sitting. All right guys, let's go ahead and take a look at our rear pads and rotors. So just like the fronts, I went with the Napa silent guards. There's the part number. I'll put a link in the description for it. And like I said, I already did the other side. So there's our 2 pads left, and then our new clips. And then for the rotors, there's the part number right there. And just like the fronts, pretty much the same exact thing. So let's go ahead and get this unwrapped and onto the car. So before I get the rotor on, it's always good to just spray down these brake shoes. So get a drip pan, and you can see on these there's plenty of life left on them, so those are still good. So grab your new rotor, just like the front. So I'm going to put it on backwards just to spray it. Go ahead and spray the outside, and then you'll want to spray the inside as well, because that's where your brake shoes ride for the parking brakes. Take a clean rag, just kind of wipe down, get that oil off. Same with the inside here. Then go ahead and flip it around. And then you want to make sure you line up your holes. So the smaller one will go where your screw goes. And you can see it's pretty easy to put that on still. So let me just go up a couple more clicks. You can See, it's still pretty easy. Just kind of want to see where it gets a little hard to stick that on there. Then you can back it off a couple turns. Let's see where that sits. And then as you can see, so right there, that's a lot harder. I can't get it on there. So what you can do, and then just back it off a couple clicks. So go down. See, now that slides on there easy. So I'm going to call that good right there. Get your Torx T30 bolt in there. And then you will have to transfer this rubber plug from the old rotor to your new one. Push that in there. Go ahead and clean this side. So then again, let's go ahead and clean up our bracket. Just pull your other old pad off of there. Pop out your little clips here. Grab a wire brush. Clean those ends up. Go ahead and pull out your caliper slide pins along with the boot. Grab a rag, clean those up. Go ahead and coat your slide pins with some grease. Grab your boots. Just trying to clean up some of that dried up grease that's on the ends there. And you can go ahead and pop these back on. Get your slide pins, slide them in, make sure they go in and out nicely, just like that. Take your grease, put your little bit on here, same with this side. Grab our brackets. Grab your two brackets here. These are going to go in there just like that. Okay. And so just like the fronts, we're going to put some red Loctite onto these caliper bracket bolts. A little bit on there. Then you go ahead and grab your bracket. Let's go ahead and get that slid on. Get your bolt into place. Go ahead and get those snug. I'm just going to tighten these with a wrench. Just get them nice and snug. That should be plenty. Plus you got the red Loctite holding them on. Next, grab your new pads, and just like the fronts, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the end tabs here. Then you can go ahead and slide these in. Like that. And then I'll go ahead and just coat this with some grease on the outside again. Not too much, just a little bit. And then of course same to your back side here. And as you're doing this, you just want to make sure you don't get any of this grease on the actual pad itself. Go ahead and stick that one in. Push it all the way against the rotor there. And I'll put some more on this one as well. So now we should be ready to get our caliper back on. Let's go ahead and slide that on. Again, you may have to push these in like that. Grab your bolts. Get them started. Get them snug, and we'll go ahead and torque them. And again, that might start turning on you. So grab your 17 millimeter. Grab your torque wrench, and just like the fronts, those are going to be 30 foot-pounds. And that wants to turn on me, of course. Just like that. So now we'll go ahead and get our wheel and tire back on. Grab your jack, let's go ahead and lower it. Grab your torque wrench, and you're going to torque that to 140 foot-pounds. Get your center cap back on. And if you notice, you got these little tabs on here. Okay guys, so come back underneath the hood here, look at your master cylinder, and now you can see that our level did climb some, but we're still too low. So we're, like I said, the max line is going to be right here. So we want to go right to the bottom of that arrow. So what I'm going to do, get some fresh brake fluid. You want to use DOT3. That's what it shows on the cap here. Grab you a little funnel if you want. I'm going to go ahead and just fill this, start filling this until I see it at the bottom of that arrow. And actually I went a little bit over, but that's all right. Came out faster than I thought. But if you take a look, you can see now we're just a little bit above that arrow. I'm not sure if you guys can focus in on that or not, but you can see we're good right there. So go ahead and put your cap back on. So then what you want to do now is just go ahead and get inside the vehicle here, and this pedal is going to probably go to the floor because all of our pistons are pressed into the calipers. So go ahead and press this down. You can see it sunk to the floor. Release it and then just kind of pump it. And you can see that fluid kind of built back up. Okay guys, that's going to wrap up the video. One last thing you'll want to do is break in the new pads to the new rotors. And the way you'll do that is just go easy on the brakes until you can get to a wide open road or somewhere where there's no traffic. And you want to get up to 35 miles per hour. And then you're going to slam on the brakes until you get down to 5 miles per hour. Once you get down to 5 miles per hour, let off the brakes and just coast or just kind of accelerate. You want to let those brakes cool for 30 seconds. And you're going to repeat this process about 10 times. So getting up to 35 miles per hour, slamming the brakes to 5. And you will smell the brakes getting hot. That's totally normal. That's just the braking procedure on these. One thing you don't want to do is keep doing this and then just hold down on the brakes like at a stoplight or something, because that's going to burn the pads into the rotors. So like I said, you want to let those cool for 30 seconds before in between those times. So hopefully this video helps you out. Again, this was a 2010 Buick Enclave. This should be the same procedure for the like GMC Arcadia or the Saturn Outlook, I think, or GMC Terrain. Those all share kind of the same chassis as this, so it should be somewhat similar. So hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, why don't you subscribe to my channel, check out all my other videos, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.